Prince William posted this picture of his children giving their papa a big hug. Isn't that lovely?
It's a bundle.
Oh, it's a bundle, yeah. Meanwhile, the newly knighted Sir... Well, he's not quite Sir yet. Is he Sir yet until he gets his sting?
Yeah.
Is he?
Not yet.
Yes. Anyway.
I don't think so. You know.
David Beckham, Sir, soon-to-be Sir David Beckham, he shared pictures with all his sons. This is obviously among these very strong rumours that Brooklyn is not speaking to him at the moment. And it can actually be a very tough day if you lost your dad, if you've fallen out with your dad. You know, it's an emotional day, Kelly, and I posted yesterday about my dad, you know, a nice picture of us when we were kids. But I did put, you know, sending love to those today who are finding today difficult. Two of my friends both lost their dads just last year, so this is the first Father's Day without them.
Yeah, I've not had my father for many years now, and you know, every year it comes around and you get bombarded on email. Do you want to send your dad flowers? Buy your dad this, buy your dad that. And it is a really tough time. But, you know, I try... It's a really... There's only certain times of the year where I really think about my dad. Father's Day is obviously one of them. And obviously when I got married 3 years ago and my dad wasn't there. And honestly, like, getting married and the whole planning of a wedding is so stressful anyway. But the biggest thing for me was not having my dad walk me down the aisle. And it gave me so much anxiety, that whole thought of that day and him not being there. And I just thought, how am I going to get through with this? Like, how am I going to do this without just being a blubbering mess when I get to... And I didn't want it to be about that. And then on my wedding day, we was going to get married outside in a garden. We had the biggest thunderstorm. Oh. And we couldn't get married where we wanted to get married. And in the end, I got ushered into this, like, tower. And there was no aisle. I didn't have to walk anywhere alone. And I was pretty much there. And my auntie came up to me.
This was when you say a tower, in case people are thinking...
It was like this kind of, like,
Italy.
Italian tower, medieval tower. And my aunt said... That's your dad. He came down from the heavens to the earth, and he wanted to, like, get you there somehow, and you didn't have to do that big, like, horrible walk there. And I thought that was a very kind of spiritual, romantic way of looking at it. So, you know, they are with you in some respect, however you look at life, or there's things that remind you of them when they pass.
I think as well, Olivia, now we've got social media, guilty of it myself. I did it yesterday, posted a picture of my dad and I was 5, and saying, oh, I miss my dad and the best dad ever. Everyone says the best dad ever. So if you don't have the best dad ever, that's tricky too.
Yeah, I always think with Mother's Day and Father's Day, it's if you've lost a parent or you have a difficult relationship with a parent, it must be, like, really torturous because you can't escape it. It's everywhere, and then commercially they're kind of pushing it at you weeks in advance in the shops and kind of trying to get you to buy stuff. So it must be really hard. And then on the other side, if you do have that good relationship and they are still around, it can be quite reflective. And I was thinking yesterday about it, and when I was saying we've got the best dad ever, you know, like everyone does, when you're a child, you know, you just think your parents are just a massive inconvenience to your fun. As me and my dad, we lived in Canada. You just think that they're there to, you know, put rules in place, and they're just annoying. And then as you get older and you meet more people in your life and you learn about other people's life stories, you realise that having a genuinely good person as a parent is just a lottery. Like, you know, and it's not something that everyone is so fortunate to have a good parent. And then it makes you feel very grateful.
Yeah.
I mean, you're very close to your dad, Nadia, and lucky you've still got your dad.
I know, he's 92 this year and he lives next door, so I see him... She'll make me cry, and I don't know why I get emotional about it. But, yeah, so he was such a... I never had that irritation with my dad because he never put any rules in place whatsoever and was, like, cuddly and loved us and was just laughing and would constantly tell us that we could all be whatever. It wasn't until years later my mum said, well, yes, that's because he'd moan to me and then I'd have to tell you off. So it was the classic, you know. But my husband yesterday, he posted something on Instagram that, honestly, it just made me cry so much because he didn't have a dad and he was always looking for his dad. He would come out every day out of school and look for his dad. And it just broke my heart, and he worries so much about whether he's a good enough dad because he didn't have a dad, you know. And he's such an amazing dad. And I say to him, when I look at my daughter's boyfriends and I see what lovely men they are and how kind they are and the way they look after them in the way that Mark does, I say to him, look, there's the proof. They know what a good man is, you know? I'm not saying that's the only way you can, but I certainly think, like, when I had some dodgy men in between to where I got, you know, I always knew I was going to have somebody that cherished me and looked after me because that's what my dad had done for me. So they were never...
Well, he set the bar, hasn't he, for your girls?
Set the bar. It is such a privilege to be in the lottery and win a good dad.
Yes.
It is a privilege.
Very, very lucky.